There is obviously a diff between someone in Challenger and someone who isn't, but what does someone in Platinum Korea look like compared to the world's best? What's up, GameLeap? It's the Cheers, and we all talk about how someone in Gold NA is like someone in Bronze Korea, or how someone in Diamond OS is like someone in Iron EU West. Now you might have a point with that one, but is this really the case? Well, in today's video, we are going to first analyze a game from T1's Gumayusi, one of the most elite AD carries in the world, and compare his gameplay to an ADC in Platinum Korea. Now both of them are playing Draven with a Leona support, so let's find out what the differences are, so you can apply these tips in your games as well. And make sure you subscribe to the channel, by the way, so you don't miss any of our future daily uploads. So let's get into it. Mr. Gumayusi, after stacking a bit of his passive on the blue buff, you can see that Aphelios and Thresh have the push, but when Thresh runs up like this into auto attack range of Draven and also into range of Leona, Mr. Gumayusi is going to auto attack the Thresh once because Aphelios can't actually auto attack Gumayusi here because he is out of range. So whenever you see the enemy support run into a 1v2 situation where their AD carry can't back them up, look to damage them. They should not be walking up like this for free. Now after this, Mr. Gumayusi uses his auto attacks on the wave, and the reason is simple, because he wants to trim this wave out and he can potentially still hit level 2 first on the next wave if he auto attacks enough. And when the next wave comes in, you can see how Gumayusi is still auto attacking these minions, and as soon as Thresh moves to the top side of this lane, look where Mr. Gumayusi rotates. He rotates to the south side of this lane, so your positioning is really dictated by the enemy support. And as soon as Leona goes in here, Thresh uses his Flayed, so in our heads we're counting the enemy's cooldowns, so Thresh doesn't have that Flay. Aphelios, because he's level 1, doesn't have a Q, and just in this situation alone, just because Thresh is a tiny bit closer to Gumayusi, he should really be auto attacking the Thresh here and moving down so Aphelios can't retaliate. But Mr. Gumayusi just runs in a straight line, a bit like a bot, and cops a little bit of damage from Thresh and Aphelios. But in this lane, as you can see, because Gumayusi has done an amazing job of auto attacking the wave, him and Leona actually hit level 2 first. But Gumayusi's positioning is a little bit too passive here, because really he should be parallel with Leona. As a result, because he is too far away, he can't capitalize straight away on Leona's engage, and you never know, maybe Thresh would have died if he was parallel with his support. But still, they get his flash, and it's definitely a win. Now after this play ends, we still have to control the wave, and Mr. Gumayusi just auto attacks it and last hits these minions as late as possible. This means that the wave, as you can see, is going to be close to the equator of the rift for as long as possible. This means that Aphelios and Thresh have to run further away from their tower, or in other words, they're just easier to kill and actually damage, which is what you want because you have that advantage. Now again, Mr. Gumayusi just last hits, but until this wave collides, now he starts to shove. The reason for this is because the wave is so close to Aphelios and Thresh's tower, you don't really want to play the lane here for as long as possible, so crash this wave, get the bounce on the next one. But as you can see, when this wave is actually thinned out, you have to be very careful in these situations because there is space behind these minions, and as soon as your minions die under the enemy tower, a hook champion like Thresh, Northland's Blitzcrank, does have a split second of opportunity to actually catch you out. So Gumayusi backs off, waits for the next wave to collide somewhere near the middle of the lane, so there's zero chance the enemy Thresh can actually engage onto him. Now as you can see, in this situation, you can see pings going down on the map here, question marking the enemy Krugs. This is because Gumayusi and Leona think the enemy jungler might be nearby. So in these situations, especially against a Thresh, really what you want to be doing is positioning just in contact with the minion wave. So you can see here how Gumayusi is pretty much a max auto attack range from the minions. This means that Thresh is like half a lane away from him, so there's no chance of him getting engaged on. Now this is actually going to be his undoing later when he actually dies for the first time in this game. But all of a sudden you can see that Mr. Gumayusi is a lot more confident in actually moving up and almost standing parallel with his support here, and when Leona goes in, he's kind of close to capitalize on it, and this is because, as you can see, Hayne is here as well now. So if the enemy jungler was to come in, Gumayusi knows this would be a 3v3, so he's more than happy to move up in this situation. Now again, after this play ends, we still have to sort the wave out, and as you can see, it's in kind of an annoying position, so Gumayusi again shoves the wave. If it's ever close to the enemy tower, guys, and it's locked in this position, you need to get it out of this position just by hard shoving. Now in this game as well, the friendly Kayn is going to dive this bot lane, and in these situations, it's so important just to hit the target your support or your jungler is actually jumping on. So even though Aphelios is a more prized target than Thresh, if your support and jungler jump onto Thresh, you jump onto Thresh as well. Concentrating that damage is crucial to actually diving successfully. And as they get the kill on Thresh, you can also see Gumayusi auto-attacking Aphelios. This is because Aphelios is not actually hitting Gumayusi. Aphelios is hitting the Kayn, so Gumayusi knows he has a bit of free time to retaliate. Now unfortunately it doesn't show it in the replay system, but Katarina is TPing here to this fight, so Gumayusi runs back a little bit, and just because he's now well away from the tower and Kat now poses no threat, he can just walk away safely. Now for whatever reason here, Aphelios just runs it down and gives a free kill to Gumayusi. And after both Thresh and Aphelios have died, what does Gumayusi do with the wave? Well, he shoves it, of course, because this minion wave you see here, Aphelios is going to miss this. This also increases your gold lead on your opponent. And notice where Gumayusi actually backs from. He doesn't back in the first brush or the second brush. He runs all the way back towards his side of the lane and backs in this brush. Now, this is also really important because, as you'll see in the Platinum game, getting your recall cancelled is actually a big thing. So picking a safe position on your side of the lane is always going to be a consistent option. And Gumayusi is able to recall and get back in lane ASAP. Now, when he does get back in lane, as you can see here, this minion wave is pushing into him. And the best way to actually manage a minion wave like this, which is pushing into you, is to get rid of the cannon first, which Leona thankfully does with her dematerializer. And then what you're really aiming for is 4 enemy minions to be alive and healthy as well. Now, this picture right here is perfect for Gumayusi. So once you actually have the freeze completed, all you're doing at this point is last hitting the minions. That's it. You're not auto-attacking them because you want to see the animation. No, you keep the wave here for as long as possible. And this means for Thresh and Aphelios, look how far they have to run up. This opens them up to Leona and the enemy jungler if Kayn was bot. And as you can see, because Gumayusi has an item advantage, he ends up chunking Aphelios. Now, after this play ends, you might be like, why on earth is Gumayusi just shoving this wave? Shouldn't he slow push? Slow pushing is definitely the better option here, let me tell you, because you can still hard push the next wave. But the reason he hard pushes like this is simply because there was a ping from Kayn on my way to bot lane. So Gumayusi, as a result, ends up hard pushing both ways, which is still okay. But as you can see, this next one is in an awkward position because he might be in tower range, especially of Thresh. But they eventually get the dive done. Now, exactly the same thing. Aphelios is the prize target, but Gumayusi knows when he turns around, Aphelios is so far away, there's no chance of jumping on him. So Leona knows this as well and goes on the Thresh as a result, and they pick up another kill. But as you can see on the map here, Katarina is in the mid lane, Henan is in the top lane. So Aphelios, there is a very good chance he is alone, and Gumayusi, because he has such a big advantage at this point, chases him down and picks up another kill. And then after clearing these minions, because now Katarina is missing in action, she might well be running to the bot lane, and because Thresh is running back to this lane, he recalls as soon as he can in this brush to get back on the map. And at this point, this game is GG. So taking all of this into consideration, how does this gameplay differ from a Draven and Platinum career? So at level 1 in this game, guys, as you can see, there is a massive fight at level 1, one of those fiestas, and Draven ends up picking up a kill and an assist. But as you can see in terms of items, the enemy Samira actually has an extra longsword on him and a health potion, so sustain and damage is in the advantage of the enemy bot lane here. But when Draven gets to lane, you can see that Amumu is half HP, so if they were to fight, there's a very good chance that Draven and Leona actually win this fight. And Draven plays this very well when Leona actually goes in. Now you might be like, why doesn't Amumu jump onto the Draven here with his bandage toss? Draven has cleanse, so he's actually got no fear here at this point. They end up chunking Samira and also Amumu as well. His target selection is brilliant here because Samira is the primary target, and even his wave management after this in Platinum career is awesome. He doesn't push this wave because he already has the push, and by keeping the wave as long as possible in this position, just like Gumayusi did, it's going to deny minions from Samira and Amumu. So this is really impressive so far for Platinum. But Draven's positioning in this next clip is a little off. So even though he's baiting the Samira into going for this CS here so she's in range of Leona, she is still going to be in range even if you move up. So really Draven should be parallel with Leona in this position. So he's in an even more aggressive position to capitalize on Samira's mispositioning. But he still does a great job of catching up and ends up picking up a kill onto the more fed Samira. Now at this point, because Samira is dead, obviously you want to shove this wave, but Draven for some reason decides to auto attack Amumu instead. Wrong. You just shove this wave in, that damage means absolutely nothing, shove the wave in, and then you can recall ASAP. But once he shoves this wave in this Draven, you can see that Leona dives onto the Amumu here, and Draven, even though he has cleanse, is going to turret dive the Amumu. This is never worth because you die for the enemy's support, and now you're going to miss this next wave of experience. So a little bit of a throw, but it's not all that bad. Now in this situation, when Draven gets back to lane, remember what Gumayusi did? He thinned the wave out and trimmed it so there are only 4 ranged minions on the enemy side. This Draven, however, decides to auto attack Samira. This is incredibly risky because as soon as that minion dies, Amumu could bandage toss and they might even win this fight, the Samira and Amumu, just because they have this massive wave here. Also, what is stopping the enemy jungler from being in this scuttle crab bot side? Nothing, right? So this in other games will definitely result in a death or something close to it. Now the wave does eventually get to 4 ranged minions and Draven does the right thing. All he does is just last hit, but he doesn't last hit quite enough. What you want to be doing when the lane is frozen like this is waiting until the last second to auto attack the enemy minions so the wave stays in this position for as long as possible. So the less effectively you do this like Draven, you're going to see in the next few minion waves, it's actually going to start pushing into the enemy champions. Now all of a sudden sudden the fight breaks out and Draven and Leona get ganked, so this is a 2v3 and Draven is going to pick up 3 kills there and he does extremely well. So when Leona runs up, Draven knows that it's kind of risky because he'll be fighting in the enemy minion wave, so he almost lets Leona fight and all of a sudden he sees Nidalee coming in. So he actually backs off and gives up his support here, which is great. Never ever run in if you know your support is inting to help them out because you will be inting as well. So Draven focuses his damage onto the Nidalee, stays in his minion wave so he doesn't get speared, and also does the same thing for Amumu so he can't get bandage tossed. And he ends up killing Nidalee and then Samira and then Amumu at the end of this. So in terms of this play, this was pretty much perfect. Now after all these enemy champions die, as you can see the wave is already pushing into the enemy side of the lane, so what do we do here? Of course we shove. Samira is going to miss some of this minion wave and this extends our lead. Now the last clip we watch, guys, is going to be very similar to the last one because as you can see when Draven returns to lane, it's very similar. The wave is pushing into him, so whenever you see this situation, you should always be killing the enemy cannon minion first. This makes it so much easier to actually control the wave because that cannon minion is going to do the most damage to your minions. Now in this situation again, Leona and Draven really want to fight because they do have a big lead, but look at this minion wave that Draven has to run through. Because there is a cannon minion here, he is going to take a lot of damage, especially if Amumu was to bandage toss him in this position. For some reason he doesn't and Samira is too scared to fight in this wave, so even if you do have a lead, guys, the safest, most consistent choice is to actually let the wave push into you, get rid of the cannon minion and aim for those 4 minions. Then after you've frozen the wave and actually achieved that, you can fight as much as you want. And you might be like, well in this game isn't this lane frozen? Well it is, but Draven, because he last hits these minions when they're on like half HP, unfreezes the wave and as you can see it's now pushing back into Samira and Amumu. This really lets them off the hook and is a missed opportunity. Now Draven and Leona do eventually crash this wave and when Leona hits level 6, she ults the Amumu who has to flash away and Draven for whatever reason ults when Samira has a W off cooldown. This is really important as well to actually count the enemy's cooldowns because if Samira doesn't have her blade well here it makes a bit more sense, but they do end up turret diving these 2 champions. And remember, when we are turret diving as an AD carry, we are focusing the champion our support CCs. So when Amumu does actually toss himself into this fight, Draven is actually moving away at this point. You should always be parallel with your support so you are in a position to damage the enemy champions. Thankfully though, because Draven is so fed, he ends up picking a kill onto the Amumu, then focuses his attention onto Samira and that's a double kill, and at this point the game is GG. So all in all, the differences between Platinum, Career and Challenger are actually very small, but there are quite a lot of them, and the last one, as you're going to see, Draven, even though Amumu is back on the map, decides to back in this first brush, which is just way too risky. This time is now wasted and he's going to miss minions in this lane, so always remember, guys, with your recalls, recall in a safe position on your side of the lane. So take these tips into your games. If you did enjoy the video, make sure you leave a like down below, and remember to check out the GameLeap website on your way out for more in-depth courses like this, champion courses, champion guides, high elo bot analyses, everything league related, we have it. So sign up, links in the description and comment section, and until tomorrow's daily upload, this has been the Jizz. Bye.